Good afternoon. My name is Chris Peregin, and I'm the founder of Lovin Malta. And today I'm going to be interviewing a man who is banned from Malta, an author, Daniel Holmes, who left Maltese prison 2 years ago, after serving there for more than 8 years for growing cannabis in his home in Gozo. Daniel, can you hear me? Can you see me?
Hi there. Yes.
Hi. How are you, first of all?
I'm okay, thank you.
We're speaking on a live stream, partly, I guess, because of COVID, but also because you're banned from Malta after spending the better part of your life here now. What has life been like since leaving prison 2 years ago?
Well, it's funny, isn't it? You know, we sit here now, you're in Malta, and we have this distance between us and this world. We're all kind of in prison now. It's almost as if I didn't leave prison, everybody else came in. But I mean, it's been such a journey for these 2 years. It's such a change. Every day is such a change from what it was, in some respects, you know.
What's lockdown been like for you and the whole COVID situation? You're in Wales, right? Which is your country essentially. What's it like? How are the kids doing?
We supposedly we came out of lockdown yesterday, or today I think was the first day out of lockdown. We're very lucky because we homeschool the kids anyway. We have a very limited amount of contact with people, whether that's because we're not good friends or something, but we have a lot of family around. Lockdown for us, you know, it didn't mean too much really. When I left prison, I came back home, as we saw, as people saw, and within a short space of time, the house got flooded. So we moved out to hotels, and then we lived in a tent for half a year down a campsite. And then we came home, and then this COVID thing's gone on. So for us, it's been a real crazy ride. But I mean, we're very lucky. We do a lot of gardening, chickens and quails, and goodness knows, you know, we try and cram everything in.
Everyone's doing a bit more hobbies nowadays, whether it's cooking sourdough bread or doing gardening. But you've always enjoyed gardening, right? It's what got you in trouble in the first place.
This is exactly right, you know, and it's so funny because since then, I mean, I've grown a million plants in the garden, and how many I've actually had fruit from has been a small number, you know. I had to grow a million or something, you know. And when they caught me, they made a big thing about, you know, you had these 5 grown plants and a few small ones. It was a factory, and we all know, you know, when you grow something, you don't get a good bounty from one thing, you know. I mean, even us, we have to spread our growing between potatoes, beans, tomatoes, everything. You can't grow one thing. But I've always been interested in looking after myself, really, I guess, you know, and growing things and seeing how they produce. The chickens, you know, the kids were a bit shocked, but they love it now, seeing the process of an egg, you know, and they see the color difference, and they see that. Yeah. We're just getting some quail eggs tomorrow. We're going to raise some quail for meat. But,
Dan, we're speaking at the National Book Festival because we're launching your book, right? A memoir from Malta's prison, from a cage on a rock in a puddle. The book will obviously be available for sale soon, but this is a big moment for you, right? You wrote that book from your prison cell. Do you still have the manuscripts, for example, that you wrote it on?
You know, I still have them here. They're all here. This is the original handwritten. It's slightly upgraded. I put it in a nice file, you know. But before it was just papers and pages everywhere, and I've still got all my prison diaries where everything was recorded. I don't know why I chose to record every detail, really, of not just my life, but many lives around me. And obviously you can only cram so much into a book, but when I look back at this paperwork, there's decades of lives, you know, that have been lived behind walls. Really, it's crazy.
Of other prisoners, wardens,
Yeah.
different people. What was the process like for you? As in, you're not someone who has always written. You're not a well-established author in that sense, but you're a great poet and you write prose and you've written your book. How important was writing for you while you were in the confines of prison, which, as you say, is very, very depressing. I mean, I read the book and that's one thing that stands out, how depressing the environment must have been in there.
I mean, we can never forget, you know, how if something happens and you do wrong or you're punished in society, the punishment side is brutal. You know, it's meant to be there to correct you, but it can be very depressing. But writing, reading, it's that escape that you can't find anywhere else. I mean, you can do anything in life really, but reading and writing will transform your life. You know, you'll live thousands of lives by opening yourself up to all these different ways. Even homeschooling the kids, you know, it was a big passion of mine and my wife to be able to teach our children to read, to write, to show them authors and different authors, you know, and see these wonders exposed to them, you know. I did the first day. I was just looking now at a copy of my first shopping paper in, well, this is not 2006 when I first went, but when I went to serve the sentence. And it's for 22nd of November 2011, which was like the day I was taken in. And it's water, tobacco, okay, papers, lighter, pen, writing paper, envelopes, and coffee. You know, from day one,
You knew
I
you knew you were
realized.
going to have to be writing, and you knew
Yeah, I mean,
you would channel that.
I didn't know why, but I mean, even I write letters, you know, I still believe, even though we use email and Zoom and everything else, I still try even to encourage children to write letters, to write a physical letter and to put it in the post. And even you get them back, it's a joy to see somebody's writing. It doesn't matter whether it's joined up or you know, it doesn't really matter as long as we don't forget this old technique.
Yeah.
Really.
It's funny you say this old technique, because one of the things that comes across in the book is that you were imprisoned for almost a decade, which was a very significant decade in terms of technology, right? You missed sort of Facebook and mobile phones and iPhones, and what was it like to get out of there and see everyone stuck to their phones?
It's, to be fair, it's been a nightmare. To try and catch up and to try and integrate with people on these devices, it's almost impossible for me. I mean, nothing's impossible, so I keep trying. But I've had tablets, I've had these phones, you know, they keep breaking, laptops break on me, the kids drop them. And even just to be able to stay online and keep commenting back to people, you know, and because so many people as well comment through Facebook and Instagram and things. And it seems weird to say I don't have the time, but it takes me so long to sit down and first get all the passwords and get everything in. By the time I've done that, you know, the kids are going, or chickens, or a million other things.
At the same time, Daniel, you're quite technologically inclined in prison, and this is one of my favorite bits in the book. You talk about how you decided to put together a tattoo machine, essentially, from bits and bobs you had legitimately in your cell. Do you still have that? You said you smuggled it out of prison.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't really smuggle it. I just took it out legitimately because, you know, it's just legitimate. I mean, I received a shaver, you know, a face shaver, and I still have the paperwork. I took it out, and they put the seal in the wrong place, so I could open the bottom. And once I could open the bottom, I could take the motor out, and I could mount it on, just a few bits, you know, you find around. I mean, batteries, you buy them from the shopping. What else have we got? We got some pens, obviously, you know, and that's your ink and your nib, and some plastic cutlery, you know, and a lighter, and that's the basis for for that tattoo machine and
Show
parts my
us,
body.
show us
Yeah.
some of the tattoos you did with that machine.
I mean, I must say as well that I wouldn't have had a clue really if it wasn't for the dude as well showing me. You know, I mean, he had to show me before I could do it. But I mean, I'm still, you know, I don't know whether the light is
Yeah, we
going
can
to.
see them. You're covered in there.
I'm covered. I'm not going to get my breasts out on
Yeah,
TV.
This is
And
a
I've made a
family
few more. You
show.
know, I did make a few more. You know, I made my boy's birthday last year when he was born, and
Cool.
again, it's time. I'd like to make more. I want to go to a real tattoo artist, but they've been locked down. You see how it goes. They've been locked down. I still can't get to one now. I've been out 2 years. I still can't go.
we are all still in prison in a sense.
Yeah.
One of the reasons you were able to build this tattoo machine is because obviously you can buy stuff from prison, right?
Yeah.
But as you say in your book, there's a bit of a racket going on in prison in this sense. No, there are guards who charge extortionate amounts for things like alcohol and cigarettes and stuff like that. Talk to us a bit about that situation.
I mean, since the first time I was in prison, I went to prison first in 2006 in Malta, and sort of stayed for a bit out and then back on bail. As we know, it gets a bit complicated, which I guess is why there's a book. So I saw so many directors and even different changeover of guards, different political parties came into power in Malta, which meant different fractions rose within the prison. And it was this constant wave of, I mean, life is corruption, you know, it's very corruptible, but in Malta and in Malta prison especially, it's very small. You see it really, you know, you see the corruption. And yeah, I mean, guards would always be getting caught for this or that, but it gets pushed away, you know, they don't really write about much. Some of them would be very bold to you, and you know, they'd look at you and they'd be very hateful towards you and your crime, while they're trying to sell you a bottle of whiskey for a few €100, not really seeing that, well, you know, that's more of a crime, really, you know what I mean?
And you were saying that there are distinctions even between how prisoners of different political orientations are treated, right?
I mean, yeah, it was very obvious in 2013 when I got to remember the politics, you know, but I think
In
Muscat
2013 there was an election, Joseph Muscat got elected,
And I remember the prisoners at the time, you know, you could already see even the guards, there was a big change over even mentality-wise, you know. You could see that there was a new power rise, and even some of the prisoners would tell you flat out, I'm on that side now, I'm unstoppable. Forget that other dude, you know, he's finished, I'm on the top now, you know, and some of it was more subtle, but I mean, even the amnesty, you know, he made this huge thing about 100 days, and I remember even some of his own party, you know, sort of, I mean, 100 days, some of those boys had 20, 30 years, 100 days, not amnesty. Even from the 100 days, they took back the good behavior. So it cut back to 66 days, 66-day amnesty.
You mentioned prison directors and the changes that went on, and it's really interesting in your book to see those changes taking place. And one of the things I wanted to get your opinion on, though, because it happened after you left prison, is that the prison director today says he's gotten rid of drugs altogether from prison. Drugs were a big part of your prison experience. What do you make of that statement? Do you think there are no drugs anymore in prison?
You know, there's drugs everywhere. This is the fact of the world. There is drugs everywhere. He's possibly done a good job in parts of the prison. I remember when he first came in, and his sort of stamp and his no mess attitude, if you know what I mean. I saw firsthand, you know, a bit of his brutality. You know, he came down with a bit of a foot when he came into prison. Stopped things. He probably did stop certain things, certain paths. People bringing things in, but there will always be people who bring things in. You'll never stop it. If you punish the one, someone else will rise up. You know, this is what it is, isn't it? This is the world we live in, where there's money to be made, people will fall in to make money. You know, and in desperate situations, even more so.
You mention as well in the book the food that is given to prisoners and even how that evolved throughout the years. But there was one passage which really struck me, where you spoke about one night when you were given fish, which was quite exciting for you guys because you didn't get much healthy food there, and fish was a bit of a treat. What happened with that fish?
I remember this day. It wasn't too long before I left, a couple of months maybe before I left. Came on the menu. I'd only seen it maybe once since it was on the menu. It's spinot. I don't know if I say that properly. Sea bass, spinot. And I remember even some of the new guys saying, "What's this? What's this?" And I could tell them, "Oh, I know what this is. This is sea bass." So we order. You don't really think 600 prisoners who's giving that much sea bass for free, or where are they buying it from? I haven't eaten it since I've been out, mind. I can't afford it here. But we got it. We had it. It opened the box. Terrible smell. It was for some festival as well, for some Santa Maria maybe Santa Maria before I left. And we couldn't eat it. We put it all outside. We thought there's cats, there's animals out there. And by the time we went out in the morning, it was whole. There wasn't one scale moved, not an ant, a cockroach, no cat had touched this. So I don't know what it was. I don't know where they got it from. It'd be lovely to know. It'd be lovely to know if it was sea bass. But it must have been a night in the prison. People didn't eat that.
So it was so bad, and it smelled so bad that not even the cats, not even the cockroaches, not even the ants went to it.
Yeah. And it was surprising because most times, you'd find all those things wanting your food or in it, before you got it.
Yeah. What do you think prison food should look like, Daniel?
Prison food should be grown and made by the hands that are going to eat it. So they should get the prisoners to get and grow and cook. Everybody, it's a big job cooking. If you cook in the house, it's a big job. You don't just let mum cook or dad cook. Everybody joins in. Everybody should participate like that. Everybody's going to keep it clean and fresh in a way. Now, I know you can't have 600 prisoners in a kitchen, but everybody can play a role, and everybody should be able to participate. I do honestly believe that the way of imprisoning people and putting them in a room, this only works for a very small percentage. The rest of them you need to help, you need to encourage to do things. You need to give them hope and faith in themselves and a society that won't just lock them up and shut the door on them, We all have to be involved together, whether here in Malta, my neighbours, your neighbours. We have to be involved. We have to know each other and we have to help each other. This is what families do. We are all humans. We have to believe this and we have to go forward.
In fact, I think one of the things people will feel when they read your book is that there isn't as much dramatic violence or some of the other things that people usually expect from prison life. The way you describe it, it's more like just a lot of men sort of staring blankly, smoking their lives away, and this sense of depression in the air, and lack of hope. You met so many people in prison. What is your experience of prisoners? How dangerous are they to society?
I mean, prisoners, the people I was imprisoned with, most of them, I can't give names or even in a way, but we were boys, man. We were all just boys. We'd wake up, we'd shower, we'd clean cells, you'd talk, you'd play backgammon, you smoke cigarettes and do these things. Yeah, people have done things, maybe even heinous things, but depression, I can always remember depression. Like in prison, you'd wake up and you might feel okay, and you'd go out in the morning and you'd talk to your neighbor and he'd feel okay. And you could sense something in the division. And out of these 60 men or however many men, you could feel somebody's depression and you could feel it wash through the whole, it was like a virus, that was like a virus. You could feel it infect everybody. And some days it would be in the other way. It would infect everybody would be happy. But it was depressing. I mean, even all the prison films and things we see, There is rapes, there's murder. Well, murders. I mean, Malta prison, probably not by inmates, murders, but there's deaths, there's rapes, there's God knows what beatings, and these happen. But when the films pick up on these are moments, these are flashes, because out of my 2,854 days, the majority of it was soul destroying, or soul searching. But depressing. It was lonely. It's a lonely, lonely, sorrowful time, prison, and even though prisoners might lie to you and say, it's okay, inside they know. Everybody knows now. If you lock someone up, even in a house, with all the creature comforts we've got, it's a lonely, depressing time. And this is why even in society now, COVID, so many people take their lives and done crazy things. The sourdough we were talking about. People do even, because it's so lonely and depressing to be isolated away from the community. The community should envelop us.
In fact, there were moments recently where a number of prisoners died in prison, and there's a big discussion going on about whether the conditions are good enough and things like that. But I think reading your book, it kind of gives a sense that it's also the depression and the hopelessness that leads to some of these deaths. But talking about loneliness, I wanted to know, I mean, you conceived one of your daughters in prison, right?
Yeah.
You have two beautiful daughters.
It's an amazing fact we can say, because we know that, on the 1st of April 2012, about 2:30, we made our daughter. And on the 1st of December, about 9:45 in the morning, she came into the world, and we know those two facts. Most people don't know the sort of the timing, but we know those two dates. I know they're very short. She came a bit early. She was very in a hurry to get out. She was really in a hurry. But
Dan, how difficult was it for you to get married in prison and to have two children in the time that you were stuck in Malta, and to not see them grow up? What was the hardest bit for you?
I think the hardest bit for me, truthfully, was knowing that I was sat there writing letters to them, and my wife was out there, and she was the one who had to really cope with everything. She had to raise the kids. It was, I was just sat on the sofa really watching TV, but I couldn't even get up to make the dishes or do the dishes or something. This was the hardest thing. I mean, it was very hard being away from the kids, very hard going to prison. I never really even believed I would go for that long, even till the last day. I thought that I was going to get out earlier, I mean, this was on the first day. I thought they were going to let me out. I thought it was all going to be turned over and just shown to be a mistake. And I thought that on the last day. I still think that now. I'm still almost waiting for somebody to come and knock the door and say, do you know what, I'm sorry, we made a bit of a miscalculation, we didn't mean to give you that, we meant to give you this. Because I still feel that the time I served, I mean, I feel, I don't know, not over punished, but there's definitely a trauma that's been done to me now. And correct me, I don't know, but it certainly scarred me. It really physically and mentally, I'm scarred by my process through.
How long did it take you to integrate again with your kids and to, make them realize that you're back and it's going to be okay now, and you're there and you're their dad?
The kids were fast. They knew straight away, that was it. Dad was home and he ain't going anywhere. That's it. We don't, we don't close doors. I don't lock bathroom doors. We very rarely go anywhere alone. They're hiding somewhere now because of the call, But I mean, we homeschool, so we spend that time together. We do allotments and gardens.
Behind you.
Yeah, bless them. They wanted to make a picture to put up today, and because obviously this is their classroom normally, so we've just been changing all the bits around for them and for the new season, for the new term, I guess.
Yeah, I think another part of the book that's really beautiful is your love for Marzena. Is that how you say her name?
Marzena.
Marzena. it's so amazing that you found love while you were going through all of this, and that she stuck by you, and she, you know, took care of your children and everything, and you're still now you're living life together, I guess. You even got married in prison, right? What was that like? And falling in love, what was that like for you?
I mean, I was out on bail. They were telling me in my year, you were going away for life, 25 years. Even every policeman I spoke to, 20 years life, you know, these charges. Even when they gave me the charges, I mean, I had 5 life sentences and fines of up to €500,000. I remember the day I got that in the pub I was working in, and one of the locals went, "How can they give you 5 life sentences?" You know, and I said, "I don't know." You know, I didn't know. I was lost. I was working in a pub in Malta, and I was just really, really lost. And I met this woman, a girl, really, I suppose, back then. And even though we tried, we knew what was coming, you know. I knew what was coming. I knew this prison, and I told her straight away. But yeah, she was my rock through it, you know. I mean, it's a bit of a cliche. People say, you know, the woman, or I found God, or this. There's so many cliches. But I think as you grow up, you just have all these blessings, you know. You know, you find love. If you don't lose it, you find it. I once heard that the difference between people who have love and who don't is when it comes to it, those two people, one of them will try, you know, they will stay, they will argue, they won't walk away, they won't close the door. You'll talk, you know, you words, as long as you keep talking, you have something, you know. We're very blessed that, you know, she took it well, man, and there's not many people that would wait 8 years for somebody. But
I know at the end it got particularly difficult even for her to come to Malta and make the journeys back to visit you, right?
Yeah. I mean, by that time with the kids, even now, you know, there's no money to go around to say, you know, you're lucky you take a holiday, but you're going away visiting someone in prison. I think in the end it was years, it was a couple of years, you know. But we knew, we always knew that time would come. Even now with the way the world is, we know that we have time, you know, we have plenty of things and time to do. And it's always been in God's hands, you know. Time's never been mine. I can't control any of it, so I really have to just wait, and hopefully it'll come good.
Daniel, you spoke a bit about feeling like overpunished for this crime, although at the moment it's not even very clear in Malta whether it would even be a crime, you know. There's just the other day there was a case of personal use of cannabis for more than 100 grams of cannabis, you know. So, but your case sparked a nationwide discussion. It sparked changes in the law. It sparked protests. Marjana, as you said, was a big part of that movement, and trying to, you know, keep up the hope every day that maybe you'd be released, maybe you'd be forgiven, maybe someone would see sense and realize that you shouldn't have been tried as a major drug trafficker. You were just a stoner sort of looking for a smoking Gozo, I guess. What do you make of the cannabis discussion in Malta, and how strange is it for you to know that, I think you mentioned this in the book, that, you know, when Joseph Muscat was speaking about Malta as the center of medical cannabis in Malta?
You know, it's crazy how laws and morality of a place, they change so dramatically. So when I was caught in 2006, cannabis was this heinous thing that they really didn't understand, so aligned it along with heroin and cocaine and just anything else illegal. And we've seen in America when they do prohibition and when they criminalize something, the outcome. Cannabis is no different, you know. They've criminalized it for so long, they've criminalized its users, but at the same time, Snoop Dogg can fly into Malta with a joint in his mouth because he's bringing money. It's all about the money, isn't it? You know, even now, after I've left, of course, Malta have found that they can have a few factories and they can make millions, billions, billions. But the normal user isn't even trying to make money. He's just trying to smoke this product that, to be honest, all the ones who are making money wouldn't smoke. You know, it's a bit like, you know, growing stuff in the garden. Half the stuff I grow, you wouldn't buy in the supermarket. So I grow it because you can't get it in the supermarket. Is it wrong of me to want something that's not in the supermarket? Well, I don't know, you know, but, you know.
In your time in prison and leading up to prison as well, you had got caught with a friend of yours, Barry, who didn't live to tell the tale the way you did. If you could tell Barry something today, what would you tell him?
Man, you know, I still think back now, of course, you know, I still have my moments. I try not to, or I try to make them happy moments, I think of. But I say I didn't leave prison and things like that. I left prison. I left Malta prison. I survived, man. I survived. I got out of those walls, and I not only walked, I flew. I flew away, and I was saved, you know, with miles between us. Barry, there's so many people I could give lists of names of people who never made it even out the walls. You know, they couldn't even prove it. I mean, Barry died before he could even prove his case. So he wasn't guilty, he wasn't innocent. He died in prison, awaiting what? Awaiting his innocence, awaiting his guilt. I mean, there used to be a burial ground in prison, no? There's still the hanging chamber, and they've still got the noose and everything else there, you know? There's plenty, even you said, there's plenty of people who died in prison. And Barry, man, I don't know how we all got mixed up in this thing, you know? I don't know how people end up one side of the wall and the other side of the wall.
I think that's a really important part of the book, how you realize that, you know, some people get away with a lot, and then some people find themselves on the opposite side of the law and face 10 years in jail or the rest of their life in jail in Barry's case. So, do you consider yourself to be a lucky person or an unlucky person, Daniel?
Well, I used to say I was a lucky person, you know, and my mum would tell me, she would even call me lucky because I wasn't lucky, she thought. She thought I got caught for everything. And I used to think that luck played a part in it, but my wife told me it's not luck. I'm blessed. I'm blessed. And because I have faith, I have blessings, man. At the same time, other people have problems, you know, and that. But my suffering is always less than somebody else, always less, and more than somebody else. So I am lucky. I'm blessed to be right in the middle, you know.
Yeah.
I'm fortunate that way.
It's so inspiring to read your book and feel that sense of resilience and survival and hope, because I think a lot of people need it even now more than ever, in a sense. You're banned from Malta until 2023. Do you plan on coming back after that? Do you miss it at all?
Well, to be fair with you, I've still got my daughter Rainbow, who was born there, and she tells us all she's Maltese. When we're all having an argument or a debate in the house, you know, the wife will say she's Polish, I don't know, I'm Welsh, English, my younger daughter. And then Rainbow always says, I'm Maltese, I'm Maltese, I want to see Malta. So we have to go back just to show her. But I don't know how much she realizes, but she's very strong to hold on to the identity of Malta, you know. She certainly doesn't want to forget. She only spent the year, her first year, but to her, that's her root, you know, that's her root.
That's nice. Daniel, why should people buy your book?
I mean, writing and being able to tell somebody else's story, whether fictional or factual, it's a great privilege to be able to share that with people. You know, there's not many people that get this opportunity to get their words out to people. There's so much more now with self-publishing and everything else, but there's still such a small amount of people that are able to share their lives. And I honestly believe that it's by sharing each other's lives and being part of them that we can grow together, and you know, we don't make the same mistakes, or I mean, not many people have made the same foolish mistakes as me, but you know, hopefully we can learn together, you know, and I think that's the thing.
Yeah, thank you so much for this, Daniel. I think we're going to come to the end of this interview, but I just wanted to say thank you again for, one, for being such an amazing personality and even taking the time to write your experiences in prison. It must be said that this is, I believe, the first time we're going to have a detailed, full account of what it's like inside prison, and even going through the court system, which we didn't speak much about, but I know from the book that you know, there are some very shocking things over there as well. And so yeah, just looking forward to you guys eventually coming back to visit. And thank you very much. And maybe we can just end on the note of why you chose the title that you chose.
Okay. I mean, I will say as well, if everybody likes it, I've got enough for more stories. There's more information here that I could share in one book. So maybe there's time for another one.
And your poems.
Indeed. But from a rock on a cage in a puddle. I mean, even this is us to a T, isn't it? Even as humans, we're on this rock in this vast universe, you know, and we're on this puddle of water. We call it Earth. It's a puddle of water, really, that we want. And obviously, not derogatory, but Malta. I was on a rock. I was in that cage, man, in the Mediterranean. It felt like a puddle because the walls were so close around me that there was times I really thought I'd have to cast that bottle into the sea with a message to get off, you know, but I obviously made it. I got off, and hopefully we can find some other messages along the way of people still in there, maybe.
Thank you very much, Daniel. Have a great day,
Thank you.
and we'll keep in touch.
Thank you very much. Good evening. Bye. Have a nice day.
Bye.